Hey guys, today with another spectator video analysis. The situation is a bit more tricky and unclear than others, which is why we said directly that we want to share this with you if possible. He wrote me a little summary in bullet points, which I would like to give you here uncommented for the beginning, so you know what it's about exactly. Namely, I have left and regret it. She loves me, but the separation has destroyed something in her and her feelings towards me have changed or are no longer sufficient. She herself has 2 children and she had to do a separation to them again. I myself have a son from my marriage. Sometimes I was very close, then again far away to win her back. She met a new man after 4 weeks, probably a rebound, but now comes the kicker. He is just separating from his wife after 15 years of marriage and has not even moved out of home. From my point of view, both are actually rebounds. Crazy constellation or several times no contact, the last almost 9 weeks until I broke in again and wrote to her. In between probably breadcrumbing from her. Despite new boyfriend, she told me several times that she misses me, our life and time. After I broke the last no contact, she wrote me that she is happy in her life and with her new boyfriend, and although I wrote her that I will live and work with it now, she contacted me again 1 day later. Since then she has contacted me twice, but rather superficially. Since a week our conversation on WhatsApp rests, but I must say that both times I ended the conversation. I am rather the anxious, she the avoiding relationship type. So much for the facts. From this alone you could of course any analysis and try to give tips, but they would be relatively general. Surely also useful, but I know in the meantime that there is not only black and white, and especially in a case where the boundaries are so blurred and you actually no longer know where you stand now, it is useful to look at the background and details. How it all went back and forth and to unroll it from the beginning in order not to overlook something important. Because that would have been the case in your case. We started out just talking about what to do when you're the one who left your ex, and I brought up my video for that. However, a lot happened between your breakup and she's more the one who would reject now, which should affect your self-worth occasionally, but not as broken as someone who's been dumped themselves. And all this back and forth is basically constant with ex back. It's just that it's usually easier to draw a conclusion there, and then even bullet points might be enough again. But before I get into a tizzy here, we'd best go straight into your mail. So now to the detailed part and my story. I am 45 years old and met my ex a year ago, shortly before the lockdown. She is 35 years old, divorced and has 2 children. I myself have been separated from my wife for 1.5 years and have a son. At the beginning of our acquaintance we wrote a lot, due to the situation. From the course of this has developed a personal contact. From this arose at first rather a friendship plus which then became a relationship. The relationship went very well, but in the following weeks and months there were frequent strokes of fate, which made our lives very stressful. E.g. corona cases in the family, my ex's dog died, homeschooling stress, etc. Here it came then frequently to smaller arguments or discussions, which could be clarified however frequently fast. Yes, this is normal in such a situation, especially in corona times, when you either just write or really squat on each other, and it's good that you could always clarify this. There I would not worry yet, as long as nothing remained unspoken and was eaten into itself or came up again and again. Next, in my case, it was also the case that I had a job change where I realized relatively quickly that it was a bad decision. At the end of last year, a lot of things got on top of me, and an actually trivial argument one day before Christmas Eve led to me telling my ex that everything was getting too much for me and that I needed some time off. But you can see how big the influence of personal development and also happiness in working life is on our psyche. I also know that if a job doesn't fulfill you or you think you're in a dead end, that you're more easily irritable in private and ultimately just done. Of course, especially for other people partly absolutely incomprehensible, how that can then lead to the fact that one feels first everything throws, but you can then simply no longer in the moment. The fact that this was then also a day before Christmas Eve, bought gifts, looked forward to a nice evening within the family, enjoy togetherness, all gone with a wipe. Quasi an experience that would have strengthened the bond incredibly just blown off, and instead sitting alone in the time in which everyone else is happy, the days are short, dark and cold, that does what with a woman, and as you have already written above, that alone will have destroyed trust, let alone the month that follows. But further in the text. In this course, the contact, except for the classic New Year's greetings for almost 4 weeks, completely broke off. My ex contacted me once in between and wanted an appointment to exchange personal things. I called her on it and also wrote that I do not think it is necessary and she should continue to give me time. Yes, for her it was like a separation, even if you called it only a timeout. And you can't expect anything to be saved after 4 weeks without contact. Men tend to hope, but women draw their own conclusions and act according to their feelings. That was more or less the point at which you lost her emotionally, or at least she could no longer trust you completely. After about 4 weeks, a more casual contact came about again, in which you wrote a little or even talked on the phone. In this course we actually arranged a meeting in which we exchanged our personal things, but also treated each other very affectionately. In the days that followed, there were again casual conversations in which sex or further meetings were also discussed. A short time later, another meeting took place, during which sex also took place. The evening after that was extremely harmonious, I don't want to say in love, but we kissed and cuddled. We also had dinner together. I would like to interject here that during this time, even before sex, my feelings for her came back and I stupidly tried to undo the issue via some kind of friendship track or friendship plus. I told her the same thing. So you haven't quite gotten into it yet and or not directly called it a relationship again. As I said, this does something to a woman and there is usually not so easy the will there to be downgraded from a relationship back to something half-baked. What is completely understandable and what I think you have also noticed directly when you write here that you have done that, stupidly. So understanding now in retrospect seems to be there, I take that from the complete male. About a week later we agreed to make another meeting, weekend with DVD evening and pizza. While we were making the appointment, she told me that she couldn't sleep for several nights and she realized that her feelings towards me are not 100% there anymore and she doesn't want a fresh start. She also does not want to meet me anymore. She still wrote me that she wished it would be like that again, but it is no longer so. Yes, as already said, the attraction and the trust will have decreased strongly within the 4 weeks, and when you met each other again then, she will have noticed this only so correctly. This is usually associated with closeness sex, which was an indicator to them of how they felt about you, and the moment they then realize it's not like before, VLL slightly below what they would still accept. To you it shows they are getting involved with you. Rather, it shows you that it is no longer the way they imagined it. Even though there were still feelings there, it confirmed to her that it wasn't enough anymore, and in the time after you met she will have thought long and hard about it. For you it was completely clear that now it goes uphill again, and that's why it was so incomprehensible for you at that moment. Of course she wished to be able to turn on the feelings again at the push of a button, but for her feelings the attraction, and for the attraction the man and his actions are responsible. That means here she was damn honest with you. In the further course it came to the classic fighting from me, which was more or less unsuccessful. However, she came back very often via WhatsApp and apologized that it is now so and she actually does not want to lose me in her life. There came such statements as, for her it was more than relationship and sex, it was also friendship. Is of course total nonsense, that she can say only in retrospect, because the feelings are gone and she has no understanding of it but acts according to her intuition. Sure, more develops between two partners, but it is absolutely not the same as a real friendship. That is simply a few levels below, and that goes so clear only for the person whose feelings have changed. But since we men do not love opportunistically, there are no gray levels for us. Either you love each other or you are friends. A downgrade to a friend is always connected with the pain of having to fight against your own feelings, because you have the person in front of you, with whom you have gone further than with a normal friend. Next, I think now perhaps the most important key statements come from her. I wanted to know from her what speaks against a new start, why she does not forgive me and why she does not want to try. Location misjudged. It was not about forgiving, it was about her feelings on which she had no influence. She answered me relatively honestly and directly that she understood and also made mistakes and would like to work on them in the future, also forgave me, but she just cannot cope with the fact that I left her standing in the rain for 4 weeks. In addition, it was hell for her to have this uncertainty and to have to do a separation to her children again. Our kids got along great with us and each other as well. She too would love to turn back time if she could, and she always hoped she could do that with me. Yes, as I said, I find the statement from her very reflective and honest. Of course, we men can do little with it at that moment, because we actually want to find a solution and present it, but, at that moment there was nothing to get emotionally. I told her that I accept it, let her go now, but cannot imagine a friendship with her at the moment. Very well reacted, also in view of the fact that the whole thing at that moment apparently turned and you were rejected. That was in her eyes a breakup, to be equated with a separation, although you have not addressed it in this way so far. But you have already lived this, so your attempt to bring it back together failed because of too little attraction from her side, and your action that led to this was that you left her hanging in the air for so long. So far so good, you have to reckon with that, no one could really do anything about it, because it became too much for you. Such statements as, she has also made many mistakes, yes, but there were no decisive but the pressure from outside, which then became too strong by the inside of the relationship. You say yourself it was not an important or big quarrel but something totally banal. But that was the last straw that broke the camel's back. Of course it is understandable that she couldn't cope with the following situation at all, and now there is always a little doubt whether you would do it again, but I think the loss of attraction is more serious. Such a trust thing you usually still get in the form, which was also your impression, because you were fully focused at the moment that this is forgivable, smiley face. After the contact broke off completely for about 2 weeks. However, I contacted her again because my son Corona tested positive and I wanted to tell her. In this contact, a relaxed conversation built up again, in which we also dealt with each other rather teasingly, and also the topic of sex was again part of it. She then came up with phrases like, "I'm sure soon find another woman with whom I can live out." Here it was also about the age of the woman, where I asked her funny, but provocative, whether it was no longer enough for a younger, so at her age. Here she answered that the sex with me was perfect and now woman can look forward here. She also wrote me that our relationship was more positive than negative for her, but she still cannot cope with the fact that I just left her. You can't buy anything from all this talk, you can believe that since she has been honest so far, but it doesn't change her situation at all. The only really positive thing is how she writes back to you. But she pushes you away from her at that moment. The moment a woman says something like, "You will surely find another one soon," the alarm bells must go off. This is not a nice wish for you, this is to relieve her in front of you concerning this whole relationship topic. Despite this, we have a meeting agreed. Due to your message, do not forget where exactly the error was now, where was I? Meeting agreed to go for a walk with our dogs. This also took place and we went a nice round. During a break she suddenly informed me that she had to tell me that she had met a new man. When I asked when she met him, she said that the contact was probably already at the end of January through Facebook. She probably knew him before and he is from the same place. In addition, he is probably just separating from his wife and also has 2 children. I have to say that me and my ex didn't live together, but I spent most of the time with her. That wouldn't have happened if you hadn't contacted me. From her side, neither would have come the meeting, or the info that she was seeing someone else. Of course, you poked around and got more information than was good for you at that moment. At the end of January, that is around the time when you met after the break and she knew him before, you can definitely assume that he has not written to her by chance, but has possibly checked with her, how it looks like, since he would now be free. But all this thinking and having the info at all, yes, you can now assume that the two are not over their exes, but if nothing happens, what's the point? Just the mix of hope and pain for you. No contact was right as she rejected a renewed relationship and you were in the position of the rejected. There's not much you can do about it except work on yourself. All this came out because you contacted her with some information that she was not entitled to in her self-selected position. Long story short. She has also told me here that she still does not want to lose me. Yes, bad luck, she is not sure what she wants and again retrieved with me, had sex, and has also made hints that evening, how nice it was with me. A core statement from her was also that he is just there for her and I was no longer. So, did she have sex with you again that day or just talked about it? I guess the former. Would be end strong piece, where she supposedly has the new guy. The feelings and the connection to you are not completely gone, but for a relationship it is not enough. You should have left her alone, so that it can continue to build up in her and she cannot just let it out or talk to you about it. You took a lot of the burden off her. Also, the statement that he is there for her is illogical from a man's point of view, since you would be that now. But without the basic level of feelings and security that she would need from you for this, it is worth nothing, and she refers to the month without contact. A somewhere advanced reason, but none against which you can logically come. After that evening I again completely stopped contact for 2 weeks. After that we wrote very loosely, sometimes commented on our status on Instagram or WhatsApp. The contact was as always very friendly, without quarrels and reproaches, and sometimes very cordial. We even used our pet name Scotsy to each other. There it would have been interesting to know who has restored the contact and whether there was more from her side. But now I can only assume, and in the overall context. You sneak into their lives again and again without knowing for sure that they are interested in you, and then you are surprised about the advance and withdrawal from their side. They don't know what they are doing. It is not only important that you wait for something to come from them, so that you know that you can do something with it, but also to prevent such crap from the beginning, which can be played with you, smiley face. As mentioned above, we had very nice contact, casual, sometimes very affectionate, and actually had a meeting again, which was very harmonious. But also at this meeting she tried to make clear to me that she now has a new man at her side, but also several times, also in her messages following the meeting, that she misses me, thinks of me every day and misses many situations with me. In the further course, the contact was there regularly. However, I noticed more and more that I was often in the situation, or I had the feeling that she is breadcrumbing with me. You and also other coaches have made a quite interesting video about this here. This situation made me totally insecure and in a way also angry. Yes, of course, that's not the purpose of this to make you angry. As I said, very few women are aware of it themselves or are reflective enough to wake up in the morning and say to themselves, so now and bit of free attention from the ex would be great, for that I use him times and bit. It is rather there for you to keep that away from you, and yes, the tendency in it I also see. It is to be explained again with her interest. You can't buy anything from all the crap that she has brought to the table, and it doesn't interest you either. The negative thing with the new guy you have hardly brought up on your own, and the positive thing has of course strengthened you unnecessarily at that moment. She can miss you in situations with you as she wants. If she doesn't bring that back and she only accepts you in a slimmed down form in her life, yes, then you are wasting your time as long as there are feelings involved from your side. So I agree, is breadcrumbing, or at least comes close to it, but you could have realized that. What would have happened in the best case scenario? Would she have been monkey branched from him to you? The confusion in her would have been great, and you would have from then on always had the doubt that you can so easily get her away from her steady partner. You don't want that either. If she should end the old one and say from herself, this was and is the right one, I want him back. And not so incidentally or because you have exerted pressure. Even if it comes only passively. She has to do it herself, smiley face. Although we had agreed to meet again, I called her at the end of April and told her clearly that I feel that I am probably only an option and I am only needed when she has the time and desire. I told her that I cancel the meeting and I do not want this situation anymore. I also told her that I tell her one last time that I regret the breakup, continue to love her and that she should only get in touch again when she is also convinced that she wants to start a new beginning. Yes, you should have done that from the beginning, and I understand that you first needed the confirmation from her, so to speak, that it will not work out that way, or again and again setbacks, but that was exactly the right thing to do. Openly and honestly revealed your opinion about the whole thing. No back and forth, no talking past the issue, no hiding anything, just slammed your full integrity on the table, no matter what comes out now, because anything is better than hanging in the air. I'm sure she was perplexed at first, but accepted my request. About 2 hours after this phone call I got this answer from her via WhatsApp: "Hey, last message from me. But I still wanted to tell you this. I found what you did today mega great from you. I should have done it, but was unfortunately much too cowardly. I think you are right with everything you said today. I just have to find myself now and realize what I want and just be happy with myself again. I think otherwise I can't please anyone. I am very sorry. I hope you know that. I can't tell you where everything will lead and how it will come. No matter how, you were always mega important for me. I will never forget you and I love you. Even if I don't contact you, I think of you. Take care." MHMH. Do you see how such reflective behavior with firm conviction and at least felt knowledge of one's own self-worth affects women? A lot of it is still stuff you can't buy into, and just because she says she needs to work on herself doesn't mean she can do that at all or catches the right point that would be necessary for that, but she shows you a respect she wouldn't have been able to show if you had continued like that. Your value went up for her the moment you made your point, your deal clear to her and sort of told her, take it or leave it. But if not, I'll be fine without you. Otherwise, I have to be okay without you, and that's okay. After that, as I indirectly announced to her, I went into a total no contact. Deleted her on Facebook, Insta and WhatsApp, but did not block her. For the last almost 9 weeks there was no contact from her whatsoever, which of course totally worried me. I also had insane longing for her and of course the heartbreak, which has taken me extremely. Last week I made the decision, despite my clear announcements, to resume contact with her, head on the table. Everything you have worked for you, respect and your word, really weak action simply. Announced and not pulled through. But you know yourself and is over. I would find it worse if we had already worked together on it and you had brought that. 9 weeks no contact after you had broken it before already, and few times, after such an announcement one could have tied to it, but now it becomes just difficult. I wrote her the following message via WhatsApp. "Hey, first of all I really hope that you and your family are doing well. I thought long and hard about writing you this message and came to the decision that I will. Obviously, I honestly don't give a shit if this news is good or bad for me now either. Yeah, no you don't, or you wouldn't have sent it. Someone who sends it doesn't care, he hopes for a best-case scenario. And if this is not fulfilled it hurts, because he can say as often as he wants that he doesn't care, but he is lying to himself. This is supposed to show strength, but I did it too and thought it was worth something, but is just bullshit. You know me well and you know that I am a very principled man. I know that the last time we were together I told you clearly what I wanted and what I didn't want. Nonetheless, I've realized over the past few weeks that you are still very deep in my heart. I miss you terribly, and yes, I love you." You lay out your entire emotional world in front of her, and even if you don't care at that moment, it's exactly what guys do and what coaches mean when they say that you shouldn't do stupid shit after the breakup. The further away that is from the breakup, the more unworldly that comes across. That's not begging and pleading, but it's in your eyes the grand gesture and this, try whatever it takes since you have nothing to lose. But that's wrong. You are sinking in their eyes because you can't rely on what you say, and the fact that you say that you are actually principled you devalue by your action. The fact that you have to point it out says it all, smiley face. I just feel a total need to tell you this, no matter what reaction or consequence it brings. I don't know how you are, how you feel, and if you continue to have me in your thoughts. I also don't know if you're happy about my message, annoyed, or if you even reply to me anymore. Now we are at really desperate shit that made sense in your eyes and with which you speak from your heart at the current moment. Believe me, that doesn't last and wasn't worth churning yourself down like that value-wise. And if you don't care, why bring it up and then just throw punctuation around? Really, at best she was just alone when she read this, at worst she was sitting on the couch or in bed with the new one. And even if she was happy about it, you're not increasing her true interest, which can lead to an increase in attraction again. This message is also not meant to beg or convince you of anything. That is not the point in any way. Who shifts the blame furthest from himself and makes the biggest fuss without being asked? The guilty one. I felt an immense need to tell you my feelings, regardless of any reaction. But one thing I still realized. I am still 100% convinced that you are the best option for me and for you to create the future. I am 100% convinced that we could have a fulfilling, high-level and great relationship. No joke, every sentence just makes it worse. This is the rewrite of the self-written letter on which, unworldly as you are, you slap all your feelings to tear down her facade after she breaks up with you. Next, despite the uncertain outcome, it does me insanely good to write you this message. I believe you, but because I know how this usually turns out, I can tell you, in hindsight, you'd feel better if you'd left it alone. Or if you had written that and never sent it. I don't expect anything from you, Steffi, however I wish and ask you to be honest with yourself and with me. You do not have to be afraid or cowardly. I will respect everything you think and feel and say 100%. Just as you have always been able to do. Each sentence further demeans your worth and is full of romantic and honestly thought feelings, but when put in context, they make no sense. The behavior is the message, and all the kind words, no matter how nice, do not change the fact that instead of being with you, she is currently squatting with someone else. I really believe that you felt that at that moment, and in a way that's very honest of you, but it's not purposeful. You are not doing both of you any favors by making her respond to it now, and who leaves a text like that uncommented, please. You are right to expect two reactions. The good reaction, which you can't actively work with, but you didn't know that at the time. And the bad one, which kicks your self-esteem into the dirt, because it puts everything into perspective. But that's not how she acted from the beginning, that's probably why you decided to make the move internally. I would be very happy to get a sign of life from you. Maybe you would also like to have a coffee with me? Then you also see how I now home. I wish you a sunny week, best regards. On the same day came the following answer from her. Hey, nice to read from you. I'm really a bit speechless, just, would have in life no longer expected to hear from you what. Yes, you told me clearly what you want and what you don't want, and I fully respected that. Although this was not always easy for me. I'm currently doing very well, I'm happy to be able to work again, that the children are in school, and I'm also very happy with my boyfriend. Of course, you are still in my thoughts, and there are always situations where I think of you. I never wanted to lose you completely, but you know that. So if I'm ever in your direction, that I invite me gladly times on and coffee. Maybe you have time spontaneously. I would be happy to see you again. Wish you also a sunny week. Greetings. There you have your positive feedback, but it was clear that she does not just jump off or fall around your neck. She has distracted herself in the time, the bond could not yet work properly. Besides, yes, exes always think of you, and it is partly just as difficult for them as for you not to just take the phone in hand and look how you still stand by them. But that was just already, so to speak, ignored everything you said and unfriendly the invitation to coffee in prospect. But nothing more, smiley face. Of course, I was pleased on the one hand that she answered me, but also totally shocked her statement that she is, in parentheses, still, very happy with this man. Even if she wasn't, she probably wouldn't have told outsiders that in a WhatsApp message during an ongoing relationship. In the further course I still sent this answer, hey, thanks for your message. I was really happy that you wrote me again. Yes, I have actually also thought a lot about us in the last weeks without contact and really noticed how much I miss you, and yes. I have also suffered often. Also that you wrote me in your last message that you love me, has really kept me busy every day, because I know just how intense these 3 words were for you. It was just totally important to me again today to tell you that. Thank you again for your answer, which I can now work with. Should the miracle actually happen and you are in the area, then get in touch. Best regards. Your answer, I will, and such a hug smiley. Now comes a situation which irritates me now totally. Despite the from my point of view quite clear words in her answer and no feedback at all to my expressions of love, she contacted me again the next morning and rather with a trivial topic again started a conversation via WhatsApp. We write since last week rather sporadically in that I have contacted once from me and she has contacted again on Saturday from herself by commenting on a WhatsApp status. The contact is, as actually always in the last week/months. Always friendly and also funny. But I also notice that she does not respond to any flirting or teasing statements on my part. She also avoids the kissing smileys in her messages. Maybe I'm looking at this a little too narrowly too. Yes, she has attraction or limerence to another man. She has blinders on to you, even though there is of course joy in being able to interact with you again. But in order to make room for you again, the other guy has to leave first and that can only be done by her. And even then you don't want to play the stopgap for him, the decision has to come from her. But now you don't have to expect all these relationship relevant or flirt technical things from her. You are interfering with a currently functioning and serious relationship with her or the other guy. This does not come well and in the worst case you are rightly the one who is to blame for arguments in this direction, smiley face. Last contact came from her last week Tuesday where she asked me via WhatsApp how I was doing. We had a short conversation which I ended. Since then there is radio silence. Long story short, have had to smile briefly, because I've already planned the first time through for the answer any hour. I have now actually no idea how to deal with this situation. Therefore, my question to you, in which I would be insanely happy if you could tell me whether and how a further contact or the goal of winning back my ex still makes sense or is even worth it. So I wouldn't call that hopeless after we really rolled this up from the top. Not at all. You had a longer time together, actually everything fit, the small fights happen and basically it is a lack of attraction and a small trust problem or bad memories of how you left her alone that kept her from wanting to continue a relationship with you. The mistakes you've made don't weigh any lighter or heavier than with many others, but so far you haven't completely screwed things up with her, and at this point I would get out as best as I can and in no contact just mirror her behavior on you. You see her interest, yes, it is somewhere but it is more a friendship service. This will not change as long as the other guy is not out of her life or at least not officially in a relationship with her. In that time you can completely save flirting attempts, they only make her watch what she says and does, because you put her in an awkward position, winky face. Probably this long no contact was her getting even closer to this man, or do I see it wrong, or how do you see it? First of all, 9 weeks was long for your own subjective perception. You had to get along without her and I don't know what you did during that time either. Self-improvement and focusing on yourself would have been good, but maybe you did. Put yourself in her shoes, she was distracted. If you want to take anything seriously from all her messages, it's that she might have had a hard time respecting your wishes. It would have been even harder and the bond with the man could have been stronger because of the limerence even while she was in contact with you. You are thinking in the completely wrong direction. Missing has become stronger and what is going on in her relationship life is solely influenced by whether she gets doubts through missing. It's possible, but not likely, which is why you couldn't do anything about it. Also, based on my past history, I ask myself the question of whether I am still a leaver or a leaver. Based on that question and my current situation, am I in the bring or fetch debt? I would argue the tables turned the moment she told you about how her feelings are no longer 100% and she no longer wants to date you. This is the effect of having a secure self-worth, which I always give to abandoned people. If they don't get you back directly, your value also increases in their eyes and this puts you in the stronger position. By then you were in the bring debt, because it was up to you to make it easy for her to think about it again. Unfortunately, the attraction was already damaged at that point and you didn't seem to want to put your money where your mouth is, but start again with something half-baked. That probably made it easier for her to say no to that. Now you are clearly in the weaker position, since you are dependent on her saying that she wants to try again. And that including your back and forth all the time makes it easy for me to give you a hint. No contact and wait and see if it comes apart. Or don't even wait, you have artificially prolonged the time you need to stop thinking about her all the time by letting her into your life again and hoping. Keep going. You need to get to the point where both X back and life without her is a win for you. Also, I question if she is really that happy with him. I put there times me in the situation and think to myself, if I am very happy with a woman, then I am interested neither in another woman or my ex and take up no further contact with her. I would actually be happy if everything was again out or addressed and is now completed. Yes, that is unfortunately a total fallacy. You are now assuming this status quo from your position, but you have no idea how her relationship is going and if she can't just imagine you as a boyfriend. Whether she is happy with him is irrelevant. What would the info bring you that she is not? That you'd bust her chops and go save her a bit? Be the sleazy best friend who listens to her worries and convinces her how bad she is? Manipulate her? It doesn't matter how she is doing, the important thing is that you understand her actions. The interest at the moment in your direction is neither sexual, nor in love, nor anything else. It is nice. Nothing more. And you don't need a discussion or anything else, so it's good that she doesn't want that and continues to be clueless about what's really going on inside her. These are problems you can help her figure out when she's back with you. How should I handle the current contact and her actual statement? Break off contact again? Initiative more from her or from me? Definitely no contact and completely wait for initiative from her side. As long as she is with him, meetings like drinking coffee are difficult anyway, since she is currently zero responsive to you, and even if she does that while she should still be with him, that just shows her confusion and ends up again with Sonam Dam back and forth, where no one knows where he really stands and has to stand. The contact now is something you brought about by describing your feelings and going behind your own statements. Now to come back with a big speech, which made sense and impression the first time, would not be credible anymore. So let it run out and be on contact friendly, adult and mirror their behavior. Don't expect too much from the contact right now. It may change relatively suddenly, namely when it breaks up, but you don't want to actively witness that. And pay attention to how obvious the contact itself is. Does she write to you directly? Or does she like pictures, comment something on social media or similar? You don't necessarily need to be itching for that. So overall, doesn't look too bad, but all under circumstances. Circumstances you can't willfully bring about, which is why you'd rather focus your energy on yourself. It will probably be hard again at first, after all you have already endured 9 weeks without a message from her, and when the ex gets in touch it is often harder to bear, but, if you want to have another chance you have to go through it now. My opinion. Then you have again put in an additional mail, and since it was only an additional question, come we take the with it. I had sent you her last WhatsApp before my long no contact. In this she writes in one of her last sentences that she loves me. The backstory why I'm so busy. I told her this sentence in mid-September, since our relationship has already developed since July. She was a bit shocked at the time that I could say that so soon. For her, those 3 words are so immensely intense, she explained to me at the time, as it takes a lot of time and 100% conviction to say that to a person. For this reason, this statement of hers, in this WhatsApp occupies me so extremely. I do not believe that it was only a phrase for her. I know her too well for that. Do you have an opinion, even with the knowledge above BWZ? How would you assess this? I think if this statement had not been in her WhatsApp, would not have broken no contact. This has been extremely on my mind for the past few weeks. Yes, my opinion on this, first of course there is this feeling of you that this connects you with her and it's like a common insider. A bond, your shared history. You don't know if she struggled with it before or if it developed that way, but I strongly suspect it meant the first "I love you." The meaning may not diminish within the relationship, but once you've said it, the impact of it always wears off a bit. It's like the first kiss. The first one you do not forget, but time some in between, rather, and in the end with declining attraction it is, habit and the attempt to maintain or restore normality. It can be the same in this case. She is comfortable talking to you like this, and part of her is certainly still on the level that she can justify for herself that you belong in her life. To take that as love is possible, and it certainly means something to her. But her act shows you how much it means to her. Not enough to make you number one in your life. Not now. So this statement doesn't do you any good, as beautiful as you think it is and as true as it may be. Above all, when she explained this to you, she was extremely emotional and hadn't told you yet. This was a big step for her. When she wrote the message, she wanted to give you everything she felt for you, because it might be the last time in her eyes that you would write to her. So again, an emotional moment for her, but not reflective of her everyday life. If really that made you break no contact, then it's hard to say, but it was for nothing. The only reason that would have justified it in my eyes would have been if you really didn't give a shit if she wrote you back and you were done with the message for good, meaning you did something for yourself. And even then, it's a move that can completely throw you off balance again if you don't feel right about yourself, smiley face. So damn text, sorry about that, am curious if you get back to me and you start writing your thesis. I look forward to hearing from you, until then, best regards. Yes, thank you in any case that you have shared your story with us. I hope I have that reasonably entertaining stuffed with info and, am curious what you and of course all other listeners have to say about it. Sure, it was a lot of text, but just in such boards I find myself in many corners and ends again, and I think many others it is the same. Therefore no problem, as structured as it was rather pleasant, smiley face. So guys, take care and until the next video.